hear what I see and hear every day, every week, every month. And there are times I don't sleep, and I mean it. I'm not kidding you. This is serious stuff. This isn't just the average election coming up. Harry just said it. It's the most consequential election since the Civil War. We better get America back on track. Let's talk about a few things. I'm not going to talk about them all because everybody wants to go home, and I get that. It's been a beautiful night, but it's a long night. But what's going on our border? What is going on our southern border? When people are coming across, not hundreds, not thousands, but millions. Enough people have come across under this president in his 2 years to create the 34th largest state. Can you believe that? That's the change that's occurred. But they come across, we're worried about everybody in the world. We're making people that their own personal physician said they shouldn't get a COVID vaccine because it could be detrimental. And by the way, some of the things you don't hear that I hear in Congress, because we're privy to some information, is some of those people died. Now, I'm not against COVID shots. I'm not against science. But there are times when people need that exemption, and it was never given to them, ever. And people lost their lives. Mothers, fathers, daughters, sons. That was wrong. But do you know what? People were allowed to cross the border. Nobody tested them, whether they were COVID positive or not. What is that? What does that mean? People crossed the border that were sick. People crossed the border that are on the terrorist watch list. We caught about 70 some of them. There are hundreds of more in our country. And by the way, everybody, keep working because you're paying for their airfare to be flown around in the middle of the night around the country. You're paying for their ground transportation. You're paying for their legal advice. You're paying for their formula that our young families can't get. You're paying for everything. And why? No, I believe in immigration. Immigration is the right thing to do. We are almost all of us. I don't know how many people here came over with the Pilgrims. I sure know I didn't. My family was from all over the world. And they immigrated here. But they did it legally. Legally, the right way. They worked hard. They were proud to be Americans. But now we have people that are sick. And they're still coming into the country. And we're paying for everything. And beside that, we have the criminal element, the cartels. They're real. They're here. They're bringing in all the fentanyl. When you read those articles about how children are dying, young people are dying, so many people are getting sick and losing their life because of fentanyl. We have enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in the United States of America 10 times over. 10 times over. And a whole lot of it, most of it, has come through the southern border, from China, through the southern border, to the cartels. The cartels that not only are bringing drugs and fentanyl, that are beating their own people, that are raping children, that are harvesting organs. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm on the Homeland Security Committee. It's the stuff we know. It's the stuff we hear. Is that the America we know? Is that the America that when we look at that flag and we literally can see those American women, their faces, that they fought for, that they died for? Is that the America we know? I don't think so. But then when you try to forgive that, you go home and you go to the store and you try to buy some food. And you know what? Most of the people in this room are gifted with resources, gifted with ability, gifted that they have, hopefully, the dollars, but a whole lot of people aren't. And they go to the store, they can't afford to buy the food and supplies that they need. Is that the America we know? The worst inflation we've seen in 40 years? Why? Or how about crime? So you want to forget about that. How about crime? Ever go to Philadelphia recently? Right next to us? They come to the campgrounds and the resorts and everything all around us, and many, many good people. A lot of us came from Philadelphia and New York and these areas. And do you see the crime that's going on? It's not going up 5% or 10% or 20% or 30% in some cases. In some cases, it's 40%. Because we don't have a rule of law anymore. And this has nothing to do whether you're black or white or Asian or Hispanic. It has to do with the fact that we're all Americans and we don't deserve that. Because we were always a country that followed the rules. Thank you. We follow the rule of law. And what that means, and I'm glad we have a prosecutor that wants to follow the rule of law, because guess what? There's a whole bunch all over this country that don't follow the rule of law. Do you know that there are people with 20 and 30 and 40 priors that go to jail for a violent crime, and they're released the same day, or 2 days later, or 3 days later? And you know what they're going to do? They're going to hurt or kill somebody else. And people worry about their children, and their husbands, and their wives, and their families. Is that the America you know? Is that the America that was fought for? Is that the America we believe in? I don't think so. And it gets worse. And they pretend they don't see it. I had Director Mayorkas. Everybody know who he is? The Homeland Security. The head of Homeland Security. Well, you should know him. You should remember his face, because damn it, I hope we can impeach this son of a gun. He was in front of my Homeland Security Committee, and I asked him, I said, do you see what is going on at the border? Do you ascertain that in any way there are any problems, that anything is wrong, that there's anything to worry about? And God help us. This man looked me in the face, and he lied, and he said there's nothing wrong with our border. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to find out, take a trip, go down the border. I did. I spent some time there. I watched as border police, one individual would have no backup, no help, because we won't fund them, and had to round up a dozen or a half a dozen people. Where in law enforcement do you do that? That you leave one individual man or woman to try to take care of what they're doing. God help them and God bless them, because they're doing everything they can, but they don't have the support. They don't have the support of our majority in Congress. They don't have the support of our majority in the Senate. They don't have the support of the President of the United States. And damn it, it is time that they did. We have to change that. But you know, we're paying for all this, all the bad stuff that's going on, but we're not paying enough. I don't know if you didn't know that. So in the Build Back Better bill, one of the many bad bills that were done that I didn't vote for over and over again, because by the way Congress is run right now, the night before or the morning of, you get a pile of papers this high. This is true, honest to God, I know it's hard to believe. You don't even get a chance to read it. You don't even get a chance to read a tenth of it. We start trying to go through it real quick, but you can't, and you don't want to, because it gives you a stomach ache, it disgusts you, and you see what they're doing, and you know what we need? They figured it out. We don't need to take care of the people at the border. We don't need to make sure we have the rule of law. We don't need to make sure that we have a strong military. Damn it, we need 87,000 more IRS agents. That's what we needed. That's what we need in America. And if you think they're going after billionaires, you are wrong. Because guess what? The one group of folks that will be able to control them and not worry are the billionaires. It's going to be you. It's going to be every one of you in some way, someday, if we don't stop it. And one of the first bills we want to do, and I bet you this president is going to actually veto it, is to say we don't need 87,000 more. We need an IRS that works. We We need an IRS that actually answers the telephone. We need an IRS that treats people fairly. We need an IRS that runs much more smoothly and much better. There's so many people are going to be working for the IRS now, this is a fact, that in any professional stadium, if you wanted to have an actual meeting with them, to have a meeting to discuss issues and what they're doing, you couldn't fit them in any professional sports stadium in the United States of America. That's how many of these people are out there. That's not what we need. It's not what America needs. It's not what you need. But keep on working. And then there's our military. Our great military, these men and women, and you see them. Whether they're, I honored a gentleman that was 105 years old just last week. He sat there and he had his dress uniform on, and God bless him, he still fit into it. I know, that was Jesus, he deserved it. And I just talked to him for a while. And you know what he said? He said, I'm proud that I fought. By the way, he fought in World War II. He fought in Korea. And in Korea, he was captured. He escaped, had a bunch of his toes frozen off because it's cold in Korea at the wrong time of year. And he's still proud. He served. He doesn't want any. He said, I don't want anything from America except I want America to be America, the land of the free. If you saw him, you would cry. And I mean it. I don't care whether you're a sophisticated person that sees all kinds of things going on in the world. You see this gentleman sitting there. And then he stood up when I gave him the award and I gave him a challenge coin. And I said, you represent what America is, the best of America. And he cried a little bit because he said, I'm so worried. I have immigrants that were legal immigrants, older people that came from communist countries that came to America. And they were so proud to be here. And they call me up. Honest to God, this is all stuff that happens that I see every day, every week, every month, every year. And they call me up and they say, I'm scared. And truthfully, if you call me up and say you're scared, I'm going to tell you you should be. I'm not going to give you the paddle. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you the truth. And you know why they're scared? Because they know what socialism is like. They know what communism is like. They know how wonderful it was to be here. Most of them have done well and succeeded and have freedom. And they said, all those people out there from America who were born here and given all this stuff, they don't understand. They don't care. Well, our job is to show them we do care, that we really care. But, I don't know, maybe you can forgive all of that. But then I kind of remember Afghanistan. Does everybody remember Afghanistan? It was 13 people over there, 13 individuals who were standing up for our country. We literally left Afghanistan, only 2,000 people over there, and I'm sorry, I'm not being partisan, so forgive me, but our previous president said, we can't take the 2,000 out right now. I wish we weren't there. I wish we could, but everything's under control. Women are getting their rights. They can drive. They can get educated. They can speak out in public. Life has gotten so much better. It's so much freer than it was. But we wanted to have a celebration because 9/11 was around the same time that we were able to leave Afghanistan. Yeah, we left in the most half-assed way you possibly could. We left with people hanging off the planes. We left when we left Afghani nationals that were good people that worked with us and stuck by us. We left them there. We left Americans there. And half the Afghanis that we brought over here aren't good people. They're dangerous people, and some of them are on the terrorist watch list. But I guess we try to forgive it. And then there's the information where, and again, I just say what I think. The FBI, and they're looking into it now, but we have a laptop. We have a laptop that We're not allowed to really know what's in it, but we know it's the president's son, Hunter Biden. We know for sure that they did go over to the communist Chinese. We do know for sure that they made arrangements with them, as well as the Ukrainians, as well as the Russians. We do know that there was a lot of money involved. I know it's not nice to hear and it's not nice to say, and it bothers people and it bothers me. I love any president because they're our president, but that has to be looked into. You just can't forgive that. We have to find out why. And we have to find out something else. Now, there's a lot of scientists that did a lot of good work. And we had COVID. And it was a terrible thing. And by the way, I said at the time there was no way, I don't know much, but I was a dentist. I took a lot of microbiology, learned a lot of stuff, talked to a lot of my physician friends. There was no way that came from a wet meat market and a bat. And guess what? Now we all know it didn't. But at the time, when Jeff Van Drew came out and said that, and some other people said that, we were weirdos. How dare you say that? But we knew it was true. Now we know something happened. Now, and get this. This is your tax dollars. You're busting your butt to make a living. This is your tax dollars. We funded a lab in Wuhan for the Chinese to do experiments. I'm not sure I understand why. And something, we don't know the true story, whether purposeful or by accident, escaped. And it was the COVID virus. And it escaped. And when we asked about it in the beginning, we were told nothing happened. And then we asked the World Health Organization, that we pay almost everything for. Just like we pay almost everything for NATO. NATO, good idea. How come the United States and all of you taxpayers have to pay almost everybody's share? But let's go back to the World Health Organization. We asked them, what the hell happened here, right? They said nothing to worry about. It's not a dangerous virus. Who was involved with the World Health Organization? And who was involved in COVID? And who was involved in this whole issue?
Anthony Fauci.
Fauci. He was involved in all of it. And then he tells us in the beginning, don't worry about it. I don't know if people remember all the way back. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. It's nothing to worry about. You don't have to wear a mask. I don't know if any of you remember that, but it was true. Then you had to wear a mask. You thought we had to wear a mask. Then you had to wear 2 masks. Now we find out probably most of those blue masks and the cloth masks and the ones that we wore, other than the really specialty masks that are used in hospitals, probably didn't do much of anything. And we lost lives and people got sick. We lost lives because of what happened in Wuhan. We lost lives because sometimes we were given bad information. And what is the CDC now? This isn't Jeff Van Drew. You saw a few weeks ago, right? The CDC came out, and they haven't even admitted, yeah, we mishandled this. We didn't handle it right. We made a lot of mistakes. But God forbid you said that while it was going on, you were a weirdo. But I guess we have to fix that. And I guess we have to forgive it. And then there's our military, where we're more worried. First of all, just so you know, we've lowered the intellectual standards, the brains required for both our military and our police. And the police we've got now are great, our military is great, but they're going to lower the standards. So we can't get them to do it anymore. And why can't we? Because not all of you, but a whole lot of other people don't respect what they do. We don't respect our police. Our police are nervous and they're scared because every time they do something, they're questioned, regardless of what it is. So we don't have as many of our young people proud to go into the military. And plus, they don't want to hear about whether you're a man or a woman. And even if you're a man, you might really be a woman, or if you're a woman. And it's going on. That's what they're teaching them.
Yeah.
We don't need to speak about gender issues in the military. And you really know where we don't need to speak about them? In 2nd grade. And you know what the answer to all the problems we have now, or one of the problems we have certainly in the military, because they can't even afford to live in what they make. So the majority and the president came up with a great idea. We're going to give them food stamps. I'm not making it up. We're going to give them food stamps. Our proudest, our best. Look at that flag again, willing to give their lives. I know them, we all know them, we see them. They come back without legs, without arms, with their face blown up. And we're going to give the people that are willing to do that, we're going to give them food stamps? That's the answer? And we're going to disrespect them? And we're going to talk about all these other issues that have nothing to do with it? And then let's talk about education. But maybe we forgive that, I don't know. I can't, by the way. The point of this story is, I can't forgive it. I can't forgive it. It's unacceptable. You can make mistakes sometimes. Sometimes we want to do the right thing, but they don't work out. But I don't believe in what's happening. I think it's wrong. And whether I win an election because I think that and believe that, or whether I lose an election because I think that or believe it, it's why I left. I was in Congress. I was always a conservative Democrat before that. And frankly, I didn't agree with a lot of things that happened, but I always voted the way I wanted to vote, and they wouldn't stop me because they said, look, it's Van Drew. Really, they say it's Van Drew, you know. But then I went to Congress. And you know what? One of the last things I remember when I was saying I wasn't voting to impeach, whether you love Donald Trump or hate Donald Trump, it wasn't the issue. It wasn't constitutional. It wasn't impeachable. It was the wrong thing to do. And our founding fathers said over and over and over again, impeachment, they didn't like impeachment. They almost didn't want to put it in the Constitution. But when they did, they were so afraid it would be used to remove people by a majority who were in elected office, a president, because they didn't like him or didn't like her. And they were right. That's what we were doing. So people didn't like Donald Trump. They said, let's impeach him. That's not the reason. It wasn't misdemeanors or high crimes or treason. But I said I wasn't going to do it. And I didn't do it. And I remember standing there alone, talking to leadership. These are some powerful people, man. Some powerful people, some rich people, some people with a lot of connections. And they said to me, you're going to do this, or your district's going to change. In other words, you're going to redistrict you in a real bad way. You're never going to be able to get campaign contributions from anybody. And they went through all the things they were going to do. And they said, and I'll never forget this. I had a couple people say to me, in local leadership and also in D.C., I want you to listen to these words. You will obey.
Jeez.
Hell, am I in America?
What?
So I did have a little fun. That one time, I said, man, you don't know me. I'm from Jersey. So I walked home, and I was speaking, and she's here tonight. The blonde in the back there, and actually in the middle with her folks, Allison Murphy. And I said, you know, Allison, she's been with me 20 years. I said, I've been doing this a while. And sometimes there's a beginning and there's an end to everything. And I think this is probably, you know, because I'm not doing what they want. So this is probably my end in public service. And that's okay. I love dentistry. I'll go back to it. I got a lot of dental friends that want me to work with them. And, you know, we're a little sad that night, though, because I knew what this all meant for the future of the country. We get a call. She actually got the first call. It's from the White House. And they said, we want the congressman. Actually, not we want. The president wants the congressman. The president of the United States wants the congressman to meet with him. I said, geez, I better go to this one.
You will beg.
And I did. Hour and a half, we sat and talked together about all the stuff I'm speaking to you about. And I know it can be rough around the edges, and I know some of the tweets people don't like, some of the tweets I don't always love. But man, he was, honest to God, kind and gentle and decent. And then we were just sitting there, and we stopped talking for a minute, and he turned to me, true story, turned to me, and I turned to him, and he said, Jeff, I think you should be a Republican. I said, Mr. President, I'm going to be a Republican. And there are some good Democrats out there. This is not aimed at anybody. I just want to tell you what I think. And so the funny part of it all, this is so Donald Trump, he jumps up, true story, Kellyanne Conway's there, her eyes were about this big, there's other people there, Vice President Trump was there, and he says, let's do it right now. And I said, Mr. President, I gotta go home and tell my wife and my kids first. You got right? I mean, come on, you gotta let them know what's going on. So he said, good. So we did it like a couple days later, one of the proudest moments of my life. And since then, I've been fighting this fight and standing up for what I believe. The last thing I want to leave with you is two last things. One last thing is our kids and our grandkids. People call me up, what can I do, Jeff? How can I help? I'm going to tell you one thing, contributions are great and putting up signs are great. We need those. That's what keeps our organizations going. But man, talk to your kids. Talk to your kids when they come back from college. Talk to your kids when they come back from elementary and middle school. Talk to your kids when they come back from high school. Make sure they know who George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. Make sure they know who they all are. Make sure they know the greatness of this country. Because if you think they're learning it in every school system, in every part of our district or state or country, you're sadly mistaken. They're not. Some of them they are, some of them they aren't. Quick story. Somebody, and I said two more things. Okay, it will be. Quick story. Somebody, I'm talking to them on the phone from Atlanta County. I'm not going to say where. I'm talking to him. He calls me up. He says, man, I just saw something terrible. I said, what happened? He said, I was talking to my neighbor, and her kid came home from school, had walked in, the kid's about, I think she said about 10 years old, maybe 8 years old, and said, just walked in and said, hi, boys and girls. True story, I'm making it up. And the teacher pulled the child aside and said, you'll never do that again. You've made a really big mistake. I'm going to call your parents, and you're not going to stay in school today. So they called, the mom was home, they called the mom. She went and got her and said, what's wrong? She said she will only, and anybody in this class will only refer to people by pronouns. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
I mean, you've all lived a little bit of life most of you here. We never saw this before. So we need to protect our children in schools. We need to take care of them. And I guess this is what I say to you. When you go home tonight, when you lay in bed or you watch a little TV or read a little bit, really think about the responsibility that not only I have, and believe me, I'll give it everything I have. I don't care how many hours I work, what I've got to do. I mean this. I'm dedicated to this. I love this country so much. It's been so good to me. I didn't start out very much of my life. And my parents were great, but we were not well-off people. And I worked hard, and I had jobs, and I got through high school and college and dental school and my residency because it's America. Because if you believe in America and you stand up for America and you fight to do the right thing, you will succeed. We have a responsibility to our children all the way from elementary and middle school. Because you don't want to know all the stuff they're learning. It's not just pronouns. They're learning, no, I'm not going to go into it. You know we're ready for it. Please fight for them. Fight for our country. Stand up for what's right, whatever party you are. Stand up for what's true. Stand up for this great nation. I don't want to read someday when I'm a very old man. Hopefully I live that long, and neither do you. That America's completely changed, and really that the generation that was there just didn't stand up or didn't really care or accepted it. So I ask you to know that it is our job. I thank you all because that's the one last thing. All of you are good Americans. You know, the other thing that I've had happen to me is I'll speak about American exceptionalism, American greatness, and people will come up to me and say, America is not a great country, it's not an exceptional country, and forgive me, we're all adults that are bullshit. We are. This is the greatest country on the face of the earth. It's up to you and me, and are we going to make sure we keep our America?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. God bless you. I love you, and thank you for having me.
Stay right there. We'll do another question. First, I want to thank Mark Antonio, the entire team here at Resorts, Eva Campbell, the incredible entertainment, electrical people, everybody that had something to do with this event. Give them a round of applause, please. Also to the chef and to the entire service staff, you're absolutely exceptional. Thank you. And what we'll do, because tonight is long, but I think people would like to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
Raise your hand if you have a question for Congressman Van Drew. First one I see is here.
Number one, I think I'm speaking for everybody in the room. Thank you for your love of South Jersey and our country. And quick question. A couple years ago, they were talking about the F-35s coming to the 177th. Where are we at with that?
Still working on it, and I think it would be a good thing, and we're supportive of it. It's always the jockeying around in Congress, and I've pushed and worked for that. The thing that I had to really work on that was a real big deal was the FAA. We were in deep stuff right then for that period of time. So we've got them back. We'll keep working on the F-35s. You know, one of the things with this is you don't give up easy. Keep pushing.
Next question.
Thank you, Congressman, for being here tonight. I am president of City Council in Summers Point, and we are dealing with a 26% increase on our health insurance for our municipality. My understanding is there is some federal funding, but in New Jersey, we're not allowed to get that. Can you help me with that?
Well, I want to look at your particular case, and if you contact my office, we can really break it down and give you a better answer than I will now. It's a big issue. It's not only in Summers Point, it's in so many places. We have to make insurance still be good, and at the same time, and not socialize medicine. I don't believe that's the answer, but at the same time, more affordable. And that's not an easy thing to do. So in the short run, we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to a little bit, for a little while, stick with what we have, but then we've gotta go to something different that is better and is more affordable because people are getting killed. And I get it, but I want you in Summers Point to contact my office. You see my staff people are here, and they will look into if there's any way that we can help you in that specific situation, because many times we have.
Quick announcement. Congressman Van Drew mentioned his chief of staff, Allison Murphy, and she's going to hate that I'm doing this right now. The most modest person you'll ever meet. So let's just make sure we all know in red right there.